Today, we're powering up our rings to dive deep into the cosmic story of Green Lantern. And this whole story, really, it's about one big idea, that real courage isn't about having no fear. It's all about having the willpower to look the fear you have right in the eye and overcome it. So the entire universe here is built on this one massive conflict. On one side, you've got the green energy of willpower. It's this focused, creative force that powers all the good guys. And on the other side, you've got the yellow energy of fear, a raw, destructive power that has a name: Parallax. Now, to protect, well, all of reality from the chaos of fear, some ancient beings called the Guardians of the Universe came up with a plan. They divided up all of space into 3,600 sectors and decided to put a single warrior in charge of each one. To really see how this cosmic battle plays out, we're going to follow the hero's journey of the very first human ever chosen for this job. We'll look at this universe of green power, see him face his own personal demons, and watch as he finally has to confront fear itself. Okay, so let's set the stage. Our story kicks off billions of years ago. A race of immortals figures out how to tap into the raw energy of willpower itself, and they use it to create the most powerful police force in the entire universe, the Green Lantern Corps. Now you gotta understand the rules of this universe, because they're key. From their HQ on the planet Oa, the Guardians send out these power rings to every sector. And each ring has one critical instruction: find a warrior who is completely, 100% without fear. Their greatest enemy, of course, is Parallax, the living embodiment of fear itself. For thousands of years, the universe was pretty safe, and that's because the greatest lantern of them all, a guy named Abin Sur, had actually defeated and imprisoned Parallax. But that all comes crashing down when 3 other lanterns get shipwrecked on Parallax's prison planet. Their terror is all the fuel this thing needs to break free and go on a rampage, literally eating the life force of entire worlds. Okay, so now let's bring it all the way down to Earth, Sector 2814, where we meet our hero. And this is the central irony of the whole story. This guy isn't defined by being fearless. He's defined by a deep, lifelong fear. So what makes Hal Jordan tick? Well, it all goes back to one single awful day. As a kid, he watched his dad, a test pilot, die in a horrific plane crash. That trauma became the source of all his fear, but it also lit this reckless fire in him, a need to prove himself, to fly right into the face of that fear, whatever it took. It's not really courage, you know? It's him just trying to outrun a ghost. And we see this play out right in the present day. During a combat simulation against these super advanced drones, he starts having flashbacks of his dad's accident. He pushes his plane way past its limits just to win, and in the process, he destroys a multi-million-dollar jet and gets himself suspended from the only job he's ever loved. So just as Hal is hitting rock bottom here on Earth, something is happening light years away that is about to completely change his life forever. That dying warrior who once captured fear, well, he's in desperate need of help. Abin Sur, mortally wounded in his battle with Parallax, manages to escape. His ship crashes on the nearest inhabited planet, which just happens to be Earth, and with his last breath, he gives his power ring one final command: find a successor. And here's the crucial twist. The ring, this device that is programmed to find the most fearless person around, chooses Hal Jordan, a guy who is completely defined by his fear. It zaps him over to the crash site, he's given the ring and its power source, and just like that, he becomes the first human ever to join the Green Lantern Corps. Which brings up the big question of the whole story: why him? But at the exact same time Hal is getting this power of will, something else is happening. When government scientists are doing an autopsy on Abin Sur's body, a little piece of Parallax's yellow energy, left over from the attack, infects the lead scientist, Hector Hammond, basically turning him into a vessel for fear right here on Earth. So Hal puts on the ring, says the oath he was told to say, and he's immediately swallowed by this green light. The ring's power zips him across the galaxy to the Green Lantern headquarters on planet Oa to begin his training. On Oa, he gets trained by a fish-like guy named Tamar-Ray and a big brute named Kilowog, and they teach him the basics. Basically, the ring can create anything you can imagine as a solid object made of green light. The only limit is how clearly you can picture it and how strong your will is. But Hal's training does not go well at all. He ends up sparring with the Corps' leader, this legendary guy named Sinestro, who just wipes the floor with him. Sinestro can sense the fear inside Hal, and he just dismisses him with this brutal line: You are afraid, and fear weakens will. So Hal is just crushed. He's totally humiliated, and he's convinced Sinestro is right. He thinks the ring made a huge mistake. So he quits. He renounces the power, gives up on the core, and goes back to Earth, feeling like a complete failure. Meanwhile, back on Earth, we've got these two opposing forces on a collision course. Hal has just rejected the power of will, right as Hector Hammond is fully embracing the power of fear. Hector Hammond, who's now this physically mutated monster with crazy telekinetic powers, attacks the party and causes a helicopter to start spiraling out of control. With hundreds of lives on the line, Hal has no choice. He's forced to put the ring back on and actually be a hero, creating this giant, elaborate racetrack to safely land the chopper. In the fight that follows, Hal realizes something huge. Hector's just a puppet. When he touches Hector with the ring, he creates this psychic link with the real enemy, Parallax, who tells him that he's coming to Earth to feast on the fear of all humanity and get strong enough to destroy Oa once and for all. And that brings us to the climax. The ultimate threat is literally on his doorstep, and Hal has to finally stop running from his fear. He has to choose to become the hero that the ring somehow always knew he could be. As this colossal cloud monster Parallax starts tearing through the city, feeding on everyone's fear, Hal knows he can't just punch this thing. It's way too powerful. But then, he remembers a little piece of advice his trainer Killua gave him about the incredible gravitational pull of a sun. He can't overpower Parallax with brute force, so how can one guy with a ring defeat the literal embodiment of fear? Well, he has to use the one thing Parallax doesn't have: human creativity and the courage to try a really, really crazy plan. Hal just flies straight up, baiting Parallax to follow him into space right toward the sun. Just as Parallax is about to swallow him whole, Hal dodges and uses all his momentum to push the monster just close enough. The sun's gravity does the rest, pulling Parallax in and completely destroying it. Hal is saved at the last second by Sinestro and the others, who saw what he did and finally accept him as a true Green Lantern. So in the end, the big takeaway is this: it wasn't the absence of fear that saved the day. It was the will to act in spite of it. Hal Jordan proved that willpower is stronger than fear. But in a final scene, we see the great Sinestro, the man who preached against fear, secretly putting on a yellow ring, a ring powered by that exact same emotion. Which just leaves you wondering, is the battle against our own fear ever really truly over?